What's up, everybody? This is Wednesday Wisdom Special Edition. The U.S. Olympic trials are this weekend, Friday and Saturday. It's an exciting time. We're coming off the NCAAs 2 weeks ago, and we just had the last chance qualifier last weekend, which was a great event, lots of great competition, and obviously anxiety, stress-filled performances because, it's the last chance for guys to qualify for this weekend, Friday, Saturday, to make the U.S. Olympic team. So without further ado, I'm going to run through all the brackets. I want to try and fly through this and get to each one and give respect and give you my picks. And I'm going to do something a little bit different here. There are several athletes that I've worked with at some point in their career, whether it was they came to my club, they went to my camps or Coach Colat's camps, and I was there assisting and I was helping train these kids. So I've essentially taken all those guys and put them in the finals and have them winning because, you know what, I'm going to support, guys that I have been around with, and I have faith and belief in those guys to get it done. They've worked so hard. And so I'm not taking anybody based off of seeds. I'm taking these guys based off of my personal relationship with them. And so I want to get that out right away. And then everybody else, I sort of filled the gaps if I don't know any of these people. But without further ado, I'm going to start with the women, give the women respect. And, every one of those weight classes, 6 weight classes, everyone has somebody sitting out waiting for a best of 3 finals, meaning there's a challenge tournament and, it looks like almost full brackets here. I'm looking at them right now on my other screen here. And, in day 1, some of these athletes have to wrestle 1, 2, 3, 4 matches. And then they have to wrestle a best of 3 to win the Olympic team spot the next day. So this is a really challenging way to make the team. Obviously, if you're sitting out and you only have the rest of 3 matches, worry about winning 2, really, first 2. You're sort of at an advantage. I wouldn't say you're at a full advantage because, I don't know, if you're well prepared physically, you're going to be able to go through 4 matches on one day and then come back the next day and wrestle 2 or 3 more. But, there's a big argument about whether or not it is fair or not. Personally, I don't necessarily agree with it. I would rather see just a normal format where nobody sits out and they're all just in the tournament and they all have to, just like they do in Russia, that's the thing about Russia or all these other countries around the world, how they select their team. Most of them are just having a normal tournament. And so you see, world and Olympic champions wrestling in a preliminary round and the round of 16 and the quarterfinal and the semifinal, and they're wrestling an entire tournament. And to me, that just makes more sense if you're trying to prepare for an actual event. There's no other event in the world where you're sitting out waiting for somebody. So the mentality is, if you're sitting out, your mentality is a lot different than if you're actually in the entire tournament the whole time. But, that's a whole nother day of discussion. But, I want to jump right into it. So 50 kilograms. Sarah Hildebrandt, she is sitting out, former world team medalist. I believe she was a silver medalist. And 50 kilo looks pretty stacked. I mean, there's almost a full bracket. It looks like a couple buys in there. But when you see Victoria Anthony seeded number 3 in the challenge tournament, so basically she's seeded number 4, but she's 3 in the challenge tournament, that's when you know it's stacked, because you have Whitney Condor up at the top and you have Alyssa Lampe right in front of Victoria. But I'm taking Victoria, and I'm taking her to beat Sarah Hildebrandt in the finals. She has been long overdue. She has been working her butt off. She's a 2-time World Junior gold medalist, quite some time ago, but she's just been knocking at the door for so long, and she just had pretty good competition overseas not too long ago. So I am taking Vicky Anthony. All right. So moving on to 53 kilo. This one we have Jakari Winchester sitting out. She is also a world medalist, and you know this weight class. I don't know these girls as well as I do 50 kilo, but I am going to take Catherine Shy. She is part of the Cliff Keen family that is one of my partners, and she is primed and ready. She is seeded number 3 in the challenge tournament, so she has to get through a couple hammers to make that best of 3 finals with Jakari. But I'm going to take Catherine Shy based off of my partnership with Cliff Keen. All right, so we're moving on. That was 53 kilos. 57 kilo. Helen Maroulis is sitting out. Helen, as everybody knows, she is from Maryland, where I was originally a coach and an athlete. And so I had the chance to work a little bit with her when she was in high school. And she is sitting out just based on the fact that she is a previous Olympic champion. She won the Olympics in Rio in 2016. Amazing feat. She beat Yoshida, who had won, she had won like 9 gold medals in a row, and Helen upended her. It might have been more than 9. It was something ridiculous, but Helen upended her. Helen's going to sit in the finals, and she is waiting for a a lot of talent. The women's fields are stacked, and there's a lot of talent, but Jenna Burkett is number 1 in the challenge tournament. Allie Reagan is number 2. I'm taking Allie Reagan. I think Allie Reagan, again, she's been somebody who's been knocking on the door a long time. Jenna Burkett obviously has as well, but I think it's Allie Reagan's time, and she's going to hit Helen. But obviously, I am taking Helen all the way. Go Maryland wrestling. All right, so that's 57 kilo. Moving on to 62 kilo. We have Kayla Miracle. Again, she's a world, I think she was a medalist, but she is a world team member, and she's sitting out. Maya Nelson, she is the one that stands out in this challenge tournament crowd that I see. Macy Kilty is very tough. She is a very young. She decided to forgo her college wrestling plans, believe it or not. And she went to train at a regional training center at North Carolina with the men, and obviously to help establish a women's wrestling regional training center there. But it's amazing that she took a non-traditional path, and I think a lot of women and men as well are going to start following her. Mallory Velte's in there as well. But I do believe Maya Nelson, I watched her wrestle, it was a while ago now, 2019 U.S. team trials, and she looks phenomenal, and she's an athlete. So I'm taking Maya, but I am going to take Kayla Miracle in that one. So 68 kilo. Tamaya Mensah Stock. She is a world gold medalist, and she is sitting out. She is going to have Forrest Molinari to deal with. Forrest, she was training at the University of Iowa with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. She's now at Sunkiss down in Arizona with Zeke Jones and Chris Perry. But this is what we're looking at. Best of 3, Mensah Stock versus Forrest Molinari. I'm taking the returning world medalist on that one. And the last weight class for the women, it's 76 kilo, and you have Adeline Gray. She is a multiple world medalist. She's won gold. I believe she's won silver, and she's sitting in the best of 3. I cannot gamble against her. But I'm going to take Victoria Francis to emerge from that challenge tournament. She's seeded number 2 in the challenge tournament. Diamond Guilford is seeded number 1, but I'm going to take Victoria Francis. She's also a Maryland native and resident and trains in Maryland and coaches. And so I'm going to take Victoria Francis to emerge out of the challenge tournament to take on Adeline Gray. But Adeline's going all the way. I think she's going to win another gold medal. And I think we're going to have a real successful summer for the women in Tokyo, Japan this summer. So that is that's the summary for the women. You know, I don't follow the women as much as I do with the men, just because there's not a lot of coverage for it. And so I don't, you know, I see a lot of coverage for the men constantly, even if I'm not trying to look for it, you know, I see it for the men. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of coverage for the women. And until that happens, you know, people like myself are going to be alienated in knowing and understanding what's happening and going on. But it's going to start picking up. You know, these brackets are ridiculous. I can't believe how big they are. I mean, it's amazing growth for the sport of women's wrestling and for wrestling in general. But, you know, we have to embrace women's wrestling. We have to support it, and we have to ensure that people know about it. And that means, you know, people like, even like myself, you know, putting it out there, putting information out there like this right now, so people are aware of it, that it's even happening. All right. So that's the women. I'm going to move on to Greco-Roman. Greco is, you know, I always say that I cheat on freestyle with Greco, you know, because freestyle is my just number one love of wrestling. It's my number one style that I love, and I love watching it the most. But I absolutely do love wrestling Greco and teaching Greco. I love teaching Greco more than anything, just because I feel like the skills that you get from Greco transfer over to everything else. And personally, I think I've said this a bunch of times. Personally, Greco for me gave me a lot of confidence. I was not a shooter. I was honestly, I was a horrible shooter. I think I was afraid to shoot because I was physically not very strong when I was younger. And it forced me to take the necessary steps to get stronger, to start lifting the right way, to eat better so I can gain more weight. And I did. I gained like 20 pounds in like one summer. And so I made a huge jump from like 145 pounds to 165 pounds. And I kept gaining more weight. I'm about 185 pounds now. And I feel like this should have been my natural weight if I did it right earlier on in my career. And, you know, but it's, you know, things are different now, and I'm a coach, and I can, you know, relay this information to you. But Greco is an amazing sport. I think, you know, again, it's one of those things that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And that's why I want to bring it to you now. I think we have a ton of excellent Greco talent in the United States, but nobody knows about it because nobody is really promoting it and highlighting it and showing that it belongs here and it's just as exciting. The rules might not necessarily make it look like it's exciting, but if you've ever wrestled it, if you've ever taught Greco, it's really, really difficult. And so if you don't see anything happening, it's because it's really difficult. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. 60 kilo, we have Aldor Habasov sitting out. He's a former world team member. And in the challenge bracket, I'm taking number 3. Well, he's number 2 in the challenge bracket. Ryan Mango, he sits at the bottom. And then Lamont from Utah. Let me pull up the bracket here. I was just looking at it. Whoops. I was just looking at it a moment ago. Let's see. Lamont. I'm lost for his first name. Where is it? Here it is. Taylor. I knew it was Taylor. It just didn't sound right in my head. Taylor Lamont He'll have to go through Dalton Roberts, who's a tough hammer, and Leslie Fuffinger, who's seated number 1. But then he'll have Ryan Mango in the finals. I'm taking Mango. He is explosive and exciting. And then I'm taking Mango. I'm going to take Mango to dethrone Habazov. I've seen Habazov wrestle. He's a world team member, but I believe Mango is the guy. He is built and designed and has the skills to be the guy to compete with the best in the world at 60 kilos in Greco. So now 60 kilos is about 132 pounds. That was actually my weight class when I was competing in freestyle. But you notice, the lowest weight in men's is 57 kilo. So there's about a 5 or 6 pound difference. But you notice the Greco weight is a little bit higher here. All right, 67. We jump up from 60. We go to 67. Alejandro Sanchez is sitting out. I'm taking Ellis Coleman and Ray Bunker in the challenge tournament finals. Ellis Coleman's ranked seeded number 1. Bunker's number 2. I'm taking Coleman, and I'm taking Coleman to upend Sanchez in that one. Coleman, I don't know if he was an Olympian, but he's been around for a long time. He's well overdue to get it done. He has a lot of experience, and I think it is just his time to go out to Tokyo and bring home a medal. So I'm taking Ellis Coleman, the Flying Squirrel Man. All right, here we go. 77 kilo. Now 77 kilo. Remember what I said. I'm taking it. Any of the guys that I've worked with in my, my coaching career or as an athlete. Mason Manville, he is a local. Mason used to, when I was in Baltimore, running my club in Baltimore, Maryland, Mason's family used to drive 3 hours, even though it wasn't 3 hours away. That's just 3 hours to go up the Beltway around Washington, D.C., because they lived in Northern Virginia. So Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia, they're all like jam-packed tight. And Washington, D.C. is like this little square. And then you have Maryland to the north, you have Virginia to the south, in the southwest. And they live right in that little corner, southwest pocket of Northern Virginia. So they'd have to drive around the Beltway, around Washington, D.C., and then probably go another maybe 45 minutes. They weren't very far. They weren't very far to get past D.C., but the traffic was insane. And so they would drive literally, it's a 1 hour drive, no traffic. They would drive 3 hours, 3.5 hours to get there, for 6 o'clock, do a 3 hour or 2 hour practice, and then drive 3 hours, or well, not at that point, but at that point at whatever it was, 8 o'clock at night, there shouldn't have been that much traffic, but they're driving back. But Mason Manville, he is a hard worker. Love that kid. I trained with him. Literally, I was his partner because he was always a big kid. So he would, they'd drive up 3 hours to train with me. And sometimes because he was so big as an 8th grader, 150 pounds, there'd be nobody for him to work with. So I was working with him a lot personally, just because I was around his size. And now he's in the Olympic trial championships at 77 kilo. He's going to have a tough road, though. He has Pat Smith, who made a world team. He's seeded number 3. That's because Jake Fisher's seeded number 1, and Rayvon Perkins is seeded number 2. You don't even have Kamal Bey in there, who for some idiotic reason got suspended because he wasn't available to do a urine sample for, a drug test. At any rate, I am taking Mason Manville to beat Rayvon Perkins in the lower half of the challenge tournament, and then he's got to get through Jake Fisher. There is nobody sitting out there, so that will be interesting. It's a best of 3 finals as well, but nobody's sitting out for the best of 3. All right, next one, 87 kilo, another one where I am taking my fam. Johnny Stefanowicz. He was a long time club member from the Colette Club, and from like the very beginning. And he is Chance Marstella's brother, which nobody really knows. They 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 try and create that story about it because they're both in the U.S. Olympic trials this year, which is awesome, obviously. But I'm taking Johnny. Johnny's, I just talked to him not long ago. He's a good guy, and he's with the U.S. Marine Corps division. They train down in near Norfolk, Virginia, and he is going to have to get through Alan Vera of the NYAC, and then probably John Anderson or Patrick Martinez. But I have Patrick Martinez and Johnny Stefanowicz in the challenge tournament finals. Oh, Joe Rao is sitting out. So obviously the winner of the challenge tournament, Johnny Stefanowicz, has to beat Joe Rao in a best of three. So I'm taking Stefanowicz there. Two more weight classes here and we'll move on to freestyle. But Giangelo Hancock is sitting out at 97 kilo. He's sitting out in the best of three finals, 97 kilo. And Danny Miller, another Maryland boy. He's been around for a long time. He is with, I think he's with the Marine Corps, but he may be with, he's with the U.S. Marines. He is, let's see. Hold on. Yeah, this is 97. He is going to probably get Lucas Sheridan in the challenge tournament finals. So obviously I'm taking Miller to beat Sheridan in the challenge tournament finals. And then Miller will have to beat Hancock in the best of three. Now, I believe Miller has been on world teams in the past. I don't believe he has medaled yet, but these guys have been around for a while now, and it's time for these guys to step up and bring home medals, especially in Greco. Now, once they start doing that, there'll be more of a snowball effect. I believe people will start taking more notice and paying attention, because right now nobody's paying attention to Greco, which is sad because Greco is an awesome sport because it is very different from freestyle, but the skills that you acquire from Greco are just phenomenal. All right, in the last weight class here, there's nobody sitting out, but there's a best of three in the challenge tournament finals. And it's Adam Kuhn, who has won a world silver medal. And he's going to have the youngster Colton Schultz. I believe they just wrestled overseas. And Kuhn won, but then Kuhn lost after he won. So Kuhn didn't really do much. But Schultz just placed at the NCAA tournament. So it's interesting. Schultz was overseas, wrestled Kuhn, then went, I think like a week later, was at the NCAA championships, placed, I believe he was third there. And now 2 weeks after that, he's going to probably face Adam Kuhn again. But I'm going to take Kuhn. Kuhn's part of the Cliff Keen family, so I am taking Adam Kuhn on that one. So that is Greco. Those are my predictions. Obviously I'm taking my fam. My personal relationships are staying. I'm loyal, and that's my word. All right, here is the fun stuff. We've had some interesting changes to the freestyle landscape, especially 57 kilo. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but at 57 kilo, Spencer Lee announced earlier in the week that he wasn't going to compete because he has no AC. Literally, he has 0 ACLs, and you're supposed to have 2. You're supposed to have 1 in each knee, and he won the NCAAs without any ACLs, which is an amazing feat. But unfortunately, he's not able to compete. So he had to back out and withdraw. But also, we had news earlier today that Nick Suriano tested positive for COVID, which is devastating. And so I don't believe he was officially withdrawn, but the word got out that he tested positive. And what the news and information has updated with is that he has a chance to get a second test, because sometimes these COVID tests apparently can be negative, a false positive, I should say. And it would be devastating to take that guy's chances. He literally redshirted this year, and I believe the year before he may have redshirted the year before. I think he did redshirt the year before. I can't remember because 2020 is just a blur, but yeah, it would be devastating. So right now, as of now, I'm going to keep Suriano in this, but I don't have Suriano in this, unfortunately. He is an amazing wrestler, but I always fall back on experience. There's nothing else like experience and being in the right environment. So experience, being in the right environment, being around the right people, doing the right things. That's what Thomas Gilman's doing right now. He's at Penn State. He's around awesome people. He's around great leaders in Kale. He's got Kyle Snyder there. He's got the whole Penn State wrestling team to work out with Casey Cunningham. And it's just an amazing environment for him to be in. So I am taking Thomas Gilman here. And, Vito, is it Vito? Yeah, it's Vito. They have his name spelled weird on here. Vito Arujau is seated number 3 in that bracket. There's nobody sitting out. So based on Dayton Fix's NCAA performance 2 weeks ago, I'm taking Vito. I had Dayton Fix. I probably had Dayton Fix, stamped in my mind all the way going to Tokyo and winning a gold medal until I saw him at the NCAAs, and he did not look very good. I don't know if it was just because he had so much time off for competition, but to me, he didn't look very good. He wasn't fast. He wasn't explosive. He seemed like his timing was off. And in 2 weeks, I don't think that's something that you can just suddenly fix. I think that's something that occurs over months. And, I'm going to take Vito to face Thomas Gilman. But like I said earlier, experience wins. So this and Vito has to beat Joe Colon out the gate. Joe Colon's a world bronze medalist, but the youngster's going to overcome Joe Colon. He's going to beat Dayton Fix. Vito's going to beat Colon. He's going to beat Dayton Fix. And then I don't believe he's going to be able to beat Gilman, though. So I am taking Thomas Gilman, and let's hope he can bring home a medal and stop our drought at 57 kilo. All right. 57 kilo and I'll do a whole nother preview for the Olympics, but which, this is what I really live for, the Olympic level wrestling, because I see the skills of all these athletes from around the world. And then I see our athletes, we're right there knocking on the door, but, our system is very different. And, I don't want to get too far off topic, but our system in the United States is very different. We're constantly competing all the time. All right. We have a system when we're young where we go through a folk style training system. And so there's very limited freestyle and Greco opportunities, which everybody else in the world is training in and learns in. And, I guess adjust their mindset to where we're sometimes these guys are trying to adjust their mindset when they're 18 years old, and it's too late. It's literally too late. And, even though these guys, an 18-year-old can learn, make the world team, go have some great bouts, and they have close matches, they're still getting out wrestled. Even though they look like close match, they're still getting out wrestled because their freestyle and Greco skills just are not there to compete with guys that have been doing it their entire life since they were little. And, the third thing, and I'll move on. Third thing is guys overseas, that's what they do for a living, and it's starting to happen over here in the United States where guys are able to, compete and train without worrying about an actual job, because they have sponsors, they have, they're getting paid through their regional training centers. They do camps all over the country. But That's a lot. If you're a coach and an athlete, it's a lot to do. Physically, it's a lot. And I personally know I've done it. It's a lot, and it's hard on your body. So it's really hard to be a full-time coach and be a full-time athlete, even though you're, it might make the most sense, but it's physically demanding. And in other countries, guys are sleeping, and training 2 times a day. That's it. That's it. And focusing on winning world medals. So 65 kilo, this is the mystery weight. The weight, and I should say this, I think all the other weights are qualified. I think 65 kilo, this is the thing, you have to qualify the weight. Every weight for each country has to qualify it in order to take it to the Olympics. It's not like we make our team and then we send them all. That each weight has to qualify, and 65 kilo did not. I believe Zane Rutherford was at the Pan Am qualifier in 2020, about a year ago, and he didn't qualify. I think he got pinned actually by a guy from South America, and it's not good, because I think we only have one more shot to get the weight qualified, and it's a tough road, because there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys at 65 kilos that have not a lot of countries that have guys that have not qualified yet. So it's going to be a tough road. But I have in this one, I have McKenna. He's another guy that I've worked with in the years. I'm taking McKenna over. He's going to have to go through James Green. James Green cuts too much weight. I'm taking McKenna over James Green. And then I'm taking McKenna over Zane Rutherford to get to the finals. The bottom half has Jordan Oliver and 2016 Rio Olympian Frank Molinaro and Yanni Dakahalamas. I think that's how you say his name. Yanni Dahakamalis. I am taking McKenna all the way. This is a weird weight. I think all these guys in this weight class are very talented. They're very proven, but it's an odd weight because it's 143 pounds. I believe it's 143 pounds. And it used to be 66 kilo, which gave guys another 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, which made it a little easy to me. 2 pounds is a lot. When you start to trickle under 145 pounds, it's not easy. And so these guys have to either hold the weight, or they have to naturally be small to make the weight. And that's why I don't believe James Green is, he is a monster. I don't believe he's going to be able to compete and cut all the weight that he is. But McKenna is a perfect size, 65 kilo. And I just think he's going to get it done. So I'm taking McKenna there. All right. Let me find it. 70. So freestyle only has 2 guys sitting out, and 74 kilo, the next weight, is one of them. Jordan Burroughs is sitting out. And the big talk right now is Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake, blah, 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 blah. They've wrestled 8 times, and Jordan's beat him 7 times. And Jordan tweeted, because Kyle Dake keeps instigating things with Jordan Burroughs, and Burroughs at one point tweeted back, 1 for 8, meaning you only have 1 win versus my 7 and 8 chances. So I'm done with that. I'm done with that saga. Like I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm taking my boy Chance Marsteller in here. Chance is looking phenomenal. He's training with Coach Kerry Collette, who was my coach, and I got to work with Chance in the Collette facility about 10, 12 years ago with Chance and Kerry. So now Chance and Kerry are back together again training, because Coach Collette is at the U.S. Naval Academy and Chance is making his way down to train. I think it's a phenomenal story that Chance is, he's hit a lot of road bumps, and it's amazing that he keeps bouncing back. He is just a phenomenal athlete, and he's a sponge when it comes to learning. And he is just a tremendous kid. He's got a lot of heart, and I would really love to see him get to the finals, knock off. So he would have Nolf. He'd have to beat Dake in the semis, and then have Nolf knock Nolf off in the challenge tournament finals, and then beat Jordan Burroughs best of 2 out of 3. Imagine that. Like, this is how, I mean, I know he is right now. So this is how winning is done. This is how you take down, you cannot concede anything. So I'm 100% supporting Chance to go all the way to the end and beat Jordan Burroughs, Olympic gold medals. That Olympic gold was from 8-9 years ago now. So if you ask me 6 months ago who I had Jordan, but Chance was in wrestling. Chance was really nowhere to be found, and he reconnected with Coach Collette, and now he looks like he's on a tear. So I'm taking Chance. Sorry, Jordan, but I think your time's up anyways. Chance is the guy. All right, so 86 kilo. Nobody's sitting out there, but we have world medalist David Taylor sitting at number 1. The reason why people get to sit out, at least in freestyle, I'm not sure why these Greco guys are sitting out, because I don't think any of these guys are medalists. But the reason why the freestyle guys are sitting out is because they were previous medalists, world medalists, in the last time they had a world championship. So that was 2000. A real world championship was 2019. So David Taylor, he was hurt in 2019, so he doesn't get to sit out this time. Remember, Pat Downey was the representative for 2019, and that's a whole nother story. Pat Downey is somehow in this bracket when they basically, USA Wrestling basically suspended the guy, but somehow he found his way into this bracket. He is a Maryland boy. I am not taking him just because there's some back history there, but I am taking Miles Martin, who came to my club and trained with me. Miles is an amazing kid. His dad reached out to me when he was in high school, and Miles was going to high school in Maryland, right near my club, actually. And there were a few guys that would come to my club, and Miles wanted to tag along, but he was playing football at the time, and I remember this phone call very vividly with his dad, and his dad was telling me, yeah, Miles wants to get better, but he's playing football. And I told his dad flat out, get him off the football field. I told him there is a good possibility that Miles gets hurt and he can't wrestle ever again or play football ever again. So I told him, get him off the football team. And I don't recall the exact time the conversation was. It may have been the winter before he started coming to see me. But I remember I got an email from his dad. He's like, yeah, Miles has quit football. Is the room still available for him to come? And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yes, he needs to be in there. So Miles is going to have Gabe Dean right out the gate, and he would have to beat David Taylor in the quarters, which I believe he can do. Taylor beat Miles pretty handily last summer in like an exhibition type bout, but this is what these guys live for. And I know David's training really hard, but Miles has been putting in the work, and again, I'm taking Fam. Bottom half, you have Pat Downey. Somehow he got in there. He's seated number 3. Zahid Valencia is number 2. But then you have another Maryland boy. So you have 3 Maryland guys in this weight at 86 kilo. Aaron Brooks, he just won the NCAA championships 2 weeks ago. He's going to have to beat Nate Jackson in this preliminary bout just to get to Zahid next match. And then he'd probably have the winner of Pat Downey and it looks like Bo Nickel and Carter Staroki. But I'm going to take Brooks all the way. I'm going to take Miles all the way to the end. And then it's a toss-up. I don't know if those two have ever wrestled before, but that's going to be a great match. That's going to be a great match. So let's see. We have two more weights. Another one with a Maryland boy, Kyle Snyder. Kyle Snyder won the Olympics in 2016. Rio Olympics, was the youngest Olympic gold medalist for the U.S. I think by a few months, because Henry Cejudo before that was the youngest. They're both 20, but Kyle was just a few months younger. So Kyle is sitting out. Kyle gets to sit out because he was a medal. I think just because he was a medalist in 2019, or it might be because he was an Olympian. I think it might be because he's an Olympic gold medalist from 2016, but he also has medaled in between there. But he's sitting out. He's waiting for J'den Cox. J'den Cox has decided to move up from 86 kilo, which I don't agree with, because I believe 86 kilo is his weight, and he's also an Olympic medalist, and he's won the worlds. I think he's won the worlds twice at a non-Olympic weight. But you now you have and this is a good problem to have your Olympic trials with weight classes with multiple world medalists and Olympic medals, and this is unfortunately one of them. But because we're not there yet, you want to send the best team. You want to send the best delegation from each country. And it's not always decided by this, one guy sits out, this challenge tournament. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. I don't believe this is necessarily the best way to do it. It's been the way we've been doing it forever, but it doesn't mean it's the best way. But J'den's decided to go to this weight. Because he's a returning world medalist, he gets to sit out to the semis in the challenge tournament. And I don't think anybody's going to touch J'den. I'm looking at the bracket. There's some tough guys. Colin Moore, Braxton Amos, Ty Waltz, Kyvan Gadsden, Mike Machiavelli, AJ Ferrari, Ben Honus, and Hayden Zilmer. But I don't think anybody's going to touch J'den. And then J'den's going to get to Kyle, and it's going to come down with Kyle's experience. Kyle is the most experienced at this weight class. It's his weight class. J'den has to go and take it. And unfortunately for J'den, he made the wrong decision. He should have went down. But this is all going to happen on Saturday night. Saturday night, we'll get to see Kyle. Let's see. And then there's one more weight, 125 kilo. Big boys, small bracket, and nobody's sitting out because nobody medaled in 2019. There's no Olympic medalists in here, but you have some young talent. I'm taking Gable Stevenson all the way. He just came off his first NCAA championships, and he's just on another level. He has really turned it up from last year to 2 years ago. 2018. The last time I saw him wrestle was 2018, and he was good. He was very good, but there was always something. It may have been confidence. It may have been just a mental barrier that was stopping him. He's always had the athleticism and the strength and the skill, but he has really poured it on and shown that he's the guy. And he's seeded number 2. He's going to have to probably face Mason Parrish again. Those guys have wrestled, I don't know how many times in the last few weeks. But he's going to have to wrestle Mason Parrish in the semis. And then in the finals, he is probably most likely going to have Nick Wistowski. And he's the guy with the most experience. However, this is when experience sometimes is not in your favor, and skill, athleticism and strength is in your favor. And I believe Gable has more of it than Gostowski. And in fact, Mason Parrish beat Gostowski not too long ago. And Gable's handles Parrish like no problem. So I'm taking Gable. Gable's the next thing. I believe Gable's going to win a gold medal at the Olympics, or can. I mean, I don't know if he's going to win. I think he can. Maybe not this year, but I think he can if he sticks around long enough. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting weekend. And once the team is set, it's going to be interesting to see what the U.S. can do. Everybody in the world has been really faced hard with COVID, and the United States, I believe, has taken advantage, I think, of our freedoms and trained when they weren't supposed to. And everybody else in the world, they literally would follow the procedures of what they're supposed to do. You cannot train. And so they weren't training. And this is why I created this library of technique, because people around the world were contacting me because they wanted leadership and guidance to do workouts when they couldn't do any workouts at home. And they saw what I was doing. I was only doing this on a local level. They saw what I was doing, and people around the world started contacting me. And I started learning what other countries are doing, and they were doing nothing. Like, they literally could not train. And, you know, in the United States, it's very, very different. People were training. People never even took time off. Like, I know some places that weren't even taking any time off. And it's sad in a way that people could not respect the protocols and the health of other people. But at the same time, on the other hand, and the same token, I understand we have our own freedoms. We have our own civil liberties to do what we want, despite, you know, a state of an emergency. That would be like the only thing that could really stop us from doing anything. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, because I did see at the NCAAs how it affected our athletes. I think some athletes are very underprepared, and that caused them either to be really fresh and go out and just compete and they did really well, or they were overtrained. They look horrible, and I'm like, why do they look so bad? They should be fresh. There should have been a long period of rest to let your body recover. Wrestling is such a brutal sport, and I think sometimes coaches and athletes just take it too far. They don't give their body enough time to regenerate and to recover, and even their mind. You gotta let your mind reset sometimes. So I'm hoping that that's not the case here. I'm hoping, you know, once this team is set and it's solidified, number one, we got to go qualify the weight at 65 kilo. But I hope we can get on the right path for training, and just make sure that these guys are 100% ready, because, you know, guys in the other countries have had all this time off. You know, they're training obviously at full tilt now, most of them, but, you know, they had a long period of rest. I think that gives athletes an advantage, to be honest with you. So that's about it. That took about 45 minutes. I appreciate you guys watching and hearing my predictions. Again, many of these are based just on the sole fact that I have a relationship with them, or they've worked with me in the past. And, you know, that's something that I'm never going to stop being. I'm never going to stop being loyal to my athletes. And I'm proud of these guys. I'm happy for them. You know, I was never able to go compete at the Olympic trials, or, you know, and make an Olympic team, but these guys have the opportunity. I'm happy to see them there. It's amazing. And I hope they do really well, bring home a medal to the United States. But thanks again for watching. I will catch you guys very soon.